What's good? What's good? Peace and blessings to the dope family. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button and bell icon so you can stay up on the latest. What's good, my good brothers and also my good sisters? Now, women are definitely welcome to the content, to the insight, but if you've been rocking with me by now, this channel exists solely for the enlightenment, survival, and maturation of men. Now, the topic we're going to cover today is, why your existence as a masculine man is threatening. Open your minds, let's talk about it. Who does your existence threaten? Essentially, your existence is threatening to anyone who is not a masculine man, such as yourself. Now, of course, that's the short answer, but we're gonna cover the different types of people who feel compromised by our presence and how. But keep in mind, there is in no way I could cover every possible situation and encounter without a never-ending stream of content, and a brother got a shit shower shave, the essentials, you feel me? So you'll gain a general knowledge and awareness for you to then apply and expound on. So let's jump into the content, get into the game. In a hyper-feminine society, embodying masculinity has become an art. Similar to a student in pursuit of mastery in the martial arts form. It's a journey from white to black belt to additional degrees and notches in your black belt. Now, masculinity is not as black and white or white to black, no pun intended, as a martial arts form, but they're very similar in nature, as the amount of focus, discipline, and dedication required is damn near uncanny. Now, as with any craft in existence, you have individuals who have a natural talent or inclination to easily master whatever art form is in question. You have those who can grasp material and technique in one session, and you have those who have to apply a deeper level of focus and extensive study to be able to show even a basic level of competence. So the journey of true masculinity and alphahood is never the same, but the end goal remains, being a master of oneself. There are millions upon billions, if not trillions, of scenarios, nuances, and variations of successfully being masculine today. No longer can you remain in your masculine frame without having to play chess with feminists, beta males, simps, Luciferians, and other men passing as alpha and masculine, but have only watched a couple of videos and shows and woke up quote unquote alpha. You know what I'm saying? But let's first establish an understanding of masculine nature and then gain insight of its polar opposite, which is feminine nature. And then let's seek to grasp the different dynamics at play. That way you can understand what we are up against, so that we may know how to maneuver in environments not built for us to thrive as men. So remember, we're gonna cover ways that traditional masculinity manifests itself versus femininity. Not to compare them, but just the differences between the nature of the expressions. Now, just on a side note, for those who don't understand, when you compare two things, or multiple things for that matter, you have to make generalizations. And generalizations aren't bad. It's just a statement or inference made about a group of people or things based off the majority's actions or nature. For example, if you take 100 men and sit them in a room in front of a TV watching their favorite show, and 65 of these 100 men, they put their hands in their pants while watching the show. The generalization can be made that most men put their hands in their pants while watching TV. Another example would be if you ask 100 women what they like to do in their spare time and 75 of them say shop, then the generalization can be made that most women like to shop. It takes an intelligent person to understand when a person is making a general statement that they are not speaking for everyone in existence in that group. They're speaking to the majority. Therefore, they listen for understanding and aren't triggered by these statements. But enough with the formalities and disclaimers. When you think about ways in which the masculinity in the man manifests itself, it is almost always related directly to something he is doing, something based in the physical, in action or reaction. a needed adjustment to his environment. He has big muscles because he exercises, and he exercises to remain functional in life and to lift things, fix things, push and pull. He wears different types of clothes because they keep him warm, they keep him dry, they keep him cool and comfortable while he's doing stuff outdoors. And he's doing stuff outdoors because it calms his soul and feeds his essence. He has guns and cleans them, talks about them, shows them off because he likes hunting or just plain shooting, and it speaks to his need to destroy, because once something is destroyed, whether it's a paper target or a deer, immediately comes the need to build, the building of a skill, the processing of a deer to provide and feed his family, which is in turn building them. He eats massive amounts of food, not out of gluttonous habits, but to fuel the things he wants to do, to fuel himself. The things we just spoke of. These are functional manifestations of male impulses, all of which are physical aspects that speak to the nature of the masculine men. So most of a man's mental focus is on the actions themselves, less on the state of being. Although the actions improves and calms his state of being. For instance, when a man likes to fish, it's because he enjoys catching to eat or simply throwing back the fish, not because he has said to himself, I want to be a fisherman. Fishing or hunting provides a sense of conquering another being, having control over one's life to either throw the fish back or look down the scope of the deer and let them go, or decide to take the fish home or take the deer home to provide sustenance for yourself and your friends and your family. So that urge to conquer, win, build, provide, protect is the reason we hunt, fish. It's the reason we play sports and compete on all levels. If you know. Now, on the flip side, females are much more deliberate in the way they manifest femininity. They spend a ton of money on skincare products and makeup in order to achieve a certain physical appearance, because that glow they wish to achieve contributes to the youth they wish to maintain or keep. And a youthful appearance not only makes them feel youthful, but may potentially attract that masculine man she desires. They are much more detail focused when buying clothes, specifically concerning how they look and how they feel when wearing them, because this adds to their confidence and to move about the world and feel accepted and approved by men and women. When they decorate a room, they go to great lengths to create a look and a feel for the space. Those vibrant colors or unique furniture pieces gives them an indirect inner peace and tranquility, which provides them with happiness until it fades. And now it's time to substitute that fading quality of being for a new piece of furniture or item that provides them that same bliss they receive when a new item is occupying that space. This is how women tend to manifest femininity, with creative presentation in order to evoke a certain feeling in themselves and or others. So their actions are more so feeling based. On a basic level, this makeup enhances my facial appearance, so I feel good. These clothes enhance my bodily appearance, so I feel good. And if I feel good, I'm in my highest form, etc., etc. Now, masculine men can definitely teeter over into feminine ways, such as having a suit tailored to fit a certain way to enhance his appearance, or switching up his haircut or hairstyle to achieve a certain look. All this is what you call peacocking. It's the way masculine men draw attention and get approval from quality women. Women love a well-kept and well-groomed man, because essentially if a man can take care of himself, he could potentially take care of her. Now, if a man is busted, he may have the finances to care for a woman, but she would view him as a project, in need of a makeover. And if a woman can change or needs to change you, the respect for you is in jeopardy, and that's just not good, big dog. So it will behoove you to maintain your appearance and hygiene. It's far more valuable than you think. Now it's no secret that masculinity is under attack from the print, broadcast, and social media. Just Google the word masculinity and you will see the negativity for pages and pages, and have to sift through the mess for value. And if the age we live in, with the proper tools and the drive, the attacks can be spread by any and everyone with the click of a button. But if you look closely, you will see that the majority of the attacks are incubated in the female paradigm that I previously talked about. They assume that the masculinity they are attacking is a look or a style. They seem to see it as an idea to be adopted and not as a state of being. Think about that recent Gillette ad that caused so much controversy. Would be the perfect example of how the polar masculine and feminine would react. The main visceral objection to the ad was that men would choose their razor based on the level of social morality exhibited by the brand. But this is a mistake if you think men don't understand that morality and business just don't mix. So we use products based off the quality of life they provide for us. Like, we pick those brand of shoes because they're comfortable when I run. We choose these brands of tools because, they help get the job done efficiently, so forth and so on. So to assume men can be manipulated through emotion-based advertising is a critical mistake. Or was it? Now, if you think about it, that is exactly something a female would do. The thing is that advertisement wasn't meant for us at all. It was a direct communication to women, which in turn indirectly affects men due to the changing climate it would create across platforms. A traditional masculine man choosing a razor probably starts with, how well does it shave my face, and ends with, how much does it cost? It's that simple for us. So men are put on edge from the very beginning simply because this ad is based in a format that seems directly aimed at feminine consumers, men and women with feminine nature. Now, masculine men receive this from women, but also men who've drank the toxic masculinity Kool-Aid. There are men who have become mouthpieces and extensions of feminine doctrine and encouragement to uplift women and hold them in high regards, but only on the grounds that they are female in gender. I'm all for uplifting and an abundance of affirmations to my woman. Notice I said my woman. I don't owe anyone anything based off their gender. Everyone receives that same level of respect until you show me you deserve more, you deserve less than what I'm already providing you with. Now, make no mistake, you do handle females with a certain level of charm and grace, only to not compromise their fragile nature, because that's what makes them attractive. We love the fact that they're fragile and will stand behind us to be protected. So yes, you definitely want to adjust your level of aggression when handling a woman versus dealing with a man. Which brings me to a conversation I had with a female about toxic masculinity. I'm sure by now you know my stance on the matter, so I really wanted to gain insight on how she felt about the current state of it. So I began to ask her a few questions just to check her temperature before I gave her my spiel. Now, a bit of a side note, as men, you have to know your audience and who you're speaking to. You have to know what state they're in mentally before engaging in a higher level exchange with them. You will save yourself a lot of time and headache in the long run by knowing how and what to say to someone based off their mental state or level of competence. Everyone doesn't deserve access to your higher self, so some people just aren't capable of intellectual or intelligent exchange of ideas, or thoughts in conversation. Women are more emotional based thinkers versus our train of thought, being more so solution based. So simply just knowing how to approach a conversation is very critical. But back to the story. So we were conversing on the topic and I began to ask her, does she think toxic femininity exists? And naturally she said no. And I asked her why, and she didn't have a reason as to why she didn't believe it existed. So I go on to explain everything that we can conceive or begin to grasp has a complete opposite or counterpart to it. So I asked, what's the opposite of cold? And she said hot. I asked, soft? She said hard. And I gave a few more examples so that she can grasp where I was going. And I asked, so you can agree the opposite of masculine is feminine, right? And she said, yeah, I agree with that. And I asked, if toxic masculinity is a thing, then what will be its opposite? And she looked at me with that you got me looking, reluctantly said toxic feminism. So I went on to show how your thoughts can be manipulated by what's given to you and by what you accept as real. You know, just because the term has yet to be coined or is not flooding the headlines doesn't make it less valid, you know, if you already believe its polar opposite exists. But, you know, a frequently made point by most of us men is that the people who think that there should be less traditional masculinity in society would, you know, they would change their mind if they needed a firefighter. So, you know, some wood cut, snow plowed, soldiers, you know, any job that's considered a man's job, right? You hate hyper masculinity until your car breaks down and John Doe shows up with his cape on and a bunch of tools in the back of his truck, you know, which most definitely should be a legitimate counterpoint to the attacks, except that it's taking place in a completely different front with a completely different tone or agenda. You know, when this point is brought up, it is referencing the practical need for masculinity, not the theoretical lifestyle change or lifestyle choice of what is to be masculine. You know, you are comparing apples to oranges essentially, and your counter argument will pretty much fall on deaf ears of someone who just wants to enjoy some virtue signaling. You know, for example, the practical use of masculinity is when a woman needs something heavy carried up a flight of stairs, you know. So that's heavy, you're stronger, so you carry it, right? Simple. But that same masculinity becomes toxic when you throw gender roles or something that's not to a woman's benefit in the mix. You know, that's when you start getting into the lifestyle or idea of masculinity, and that's what's probably being attacked. Now, masculinity being an ideal, you know, that realm gains more influence simply because there are more and more men who treat masculinity as an idea and not a state of being. You know, this is why I use pictures on this channel of men in suits, etc., just because this speaks to the way masculinity is viewed today. You know, many people, men and women alike, feel that masculinity can be bought or pieced together, and they don't view masculinity as a way of life, you know, a state of being. The fact that major brands like Nike and Under Armour are latching onto this trend is tangible evidence that more men are valuing looking like an alpha or masculine man rather than actually wanting to be one. You know, don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently wrong with looking the part of a well-groomed masculine man, but in the same token, there is nothing wrong with actually being one either. You know, there's nothing wrong with mastering masculinity and embodying these traits. So in conclusion, let's remember, man, when our masculinity is under attack, we need to identify at which angle and which tone is this being presented, so we know which weapon we should pull out and not show up with a pencil to a gunfight. You know, is it the theoretical tone where emotions reign and virtue signaling is commonplace, where they rather talk about ideas and values, or is it the practical realm that truly affects how our masculinity manifests itself, where we pick up, you know, we put down, we push, and we pull? You know who's presenting the stance, whether it's a big name corporation, you know, Jill from the job or Jack from the gym. You have to know your audience and be aware of the stance they're taking. Don't be reserved on asking what's their stance before you realize you're attempting to have a higher level conversation with a lower level individual. You know, but above all else, you know, keep in mind that the ones who are close to you, the ones who love and care for you, still appreciate your masculinity. You know, when the phones are put down, the TV is cut off, and the programming has ceased, we are needed and will be needed until the end of days. But remember, it's a hard journey, but a necessary journey of maturation that men must take. You know, But before you go, be sure to hit that subscribe button, that like button, and the bell icon so you can stay up on the latest. Feel free to email me at dopediscourse@gmail.com for your free consultation and guidance on life. If you would like to donate to help the channel grow, feel free. You can send your donations through PayPal or Cash App. All donations are greatly appreciated, and those will be left in the description box. But until next time, my dope family, I'm out.